the last question that I have is, so you've done some research about moves to privatization of water supply in a nearby town called Khandwa, sorry. And I just wanted to know if you could tell me a little bit about how that project, was proposed, what was supplied, and then what happened. If there, what advantages to the project there were, what disadvantages, etc.
Actually, this is a small town project supplying around 45 ml to this town, and the population of this town is around 2 lakhs. It's a 115 crore project. It's been sponsored under that central government scheme called UIDSSMP. So out of the 115 crores, 90% of the capital expenditure would be provided by the share from the state and the central government. And the 10% that was supposed to be provided by the municipal corporation, since it's not in a financial health to give that much amount of money, to invest that much amount of money, it has roped in a private company to invest that much amount of funds on municipal corporation's behalf and run the operations for next 23 years. So earlier in I think maybe around 2004 or 5, there was this scheme which was to augment water supply to this town, because the municipal body was not able to supply enough water to the residents, and it wanted to augment the supply. So they were proposing different projects to augment the water supply. So there was this proposal to supply water from a canal which comes from a dam called Arisen Dam, which is just upstream of this town, on river Narmada. Then there was another proposal to augment supply from a different dam which is close to this town, but this dam already supplies some water to the town already, and but all these were rejected, and then they finalized this project, the current project under this UIDSSMP scheme. And the cost was somewhere around, it started from 36 crores, and now it has ended at 115 crores. So you can see 2006 to 2009 when this project was approved. So in 3 years the cost has escalated almost 3 times. Yeah. And one of the reasons is the distance. The water would be supplied from the backwaters of the Indra Sagar reservoir, from where the pumping would be done. So the distance is around 52 kilometers. So yeah, that's the basic design of the project. So it would supply around 45 MLD to this town, and that private company would run the operations for 25 years. Now, when we see, we analyze the project into 2 parts. One was how the actual processes of privatization happened, and what exactly will happen once the privatization project comes into force. So one is the process, and the other is the evaluation based on what the concession agreement with the private company says, and what would be the implications of that concession agreement on the supply for the next 2 decades. So the whole process of how this project happened was, they were searching for augmentation. They were not really able to get funds from the government, from the state government. They tried under different schemes to get the funds from the state government, but they didn't manage to. But then somehow I think somewhere down the line they struck upon this scheme called UIDSS. They realized that they can raise funds from there. So they prepared a proposal for under the scheme for water supply project. They submitted it to the central government, and the project got approved. The only condition was, I mean, there were two things: either they have to invest their own money, or they had to bring in a private company. And in any case, with the reforms agenda under this UIDSS MP scheme, you have to bring in a public-private partnership model. So, with poor financial condition, they readily agreed to bring in a private company to supply water. And the whole process where the tendering and bidding process happened. The initial project proposal was prepared by a consultant which is based in Indore, and it had quite a number of measures that the municipal council wanted to implement under the supply. So that was the initial project proposal, and
And this is a consultant that has made bids for other similar water projects around the area. Is that right?
yeah. They, I think they have been applying to several other water projects.
Yeah, and I was just wondering with the new kinds of projects that are happening, that these the development for small and medium towns is kind of making possible. What is there a significant difference in this kind of in the kind of profit or capital that's to be gained by such companies, or is it about the same as if the schemes didn't exist?
Sorry.
I can ask it again.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. I always get this abbreviation wrong, but it's like the UMC. What is it called?
UIDSSMT.
UIDSSMT. Okay. So the UIDSSMT makes possible new kinds of water development schemes. And I read in one of the reports that nearly like over half of the development schemes are for water supply, and the other, another 40 to 45% are for other water sector related schemes. And so it's really interesting because these changes are kind of riding on the backs of water projects. But I was just wondering that these schemes make certain kinds of water projects possible and likely that weren't going to be implemented before. And so I was wondering if these kinds of consultants agencies, do they have access to greater amounts of profit opportunity, or do they have has the business scenario changed for them because of these policies?
Yeah, definitely, it has changed. There's an inbuilt inbuilt clause in these schemes that for a municipal corporation to develop a project proposal or to create a new project, they have to hire a consultant.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's
it
a
puts it
conditionality.
dependent.
That's a conditionality. Yeah. So the conditionality is that they have to hire a project consultant and get a proposal prepared through him. And then, so the process would start that they would ask for bids from consultants to prepare a certain project proposal.
Yeah.
So then there would be bidding that would take place, and a certain consultant would come in through that bidding, and then that particular consultant would prepare a project proposal, and that proposal would go to the government and would get sanctioned.
Yeah.
So from there it
yeah.
would generate its own consultancy fees and things like that.
I looked at one of the consultant reports, and you can tell me how you found them because you've done a lot more research on them and if they're good, if they're good ones, they're bad ones, etc. But the one that I was surprised at is that they were basing the projection of the water demand totally off of population growth, but not at all talking about the nature of that population growth and the nature of the various water uses and needs of different sectors of the population. And the other interesting thing too was that it was going off of only a 10-year, decade by decade population growth model. And they only had 1 year. They only had 2 years of data. They had 1 decade to work with, and they were extrapolating into the future by several decades.
Which
Off
one
of one, it was the one for Barwani, the one
Oh,
being
is it?
proposed.
Achha.
And I think it was the same consultant for Khandwa, but it might
No,
be
no, no,
wrong.
no,
It's not.
Yeah, no, it's different.
Okay.
No.
Well, anyway, but it was crazy
But
because
that's the general method they use for projecting the population
yeah,
growth.
but it was silly because even in other records that I've seen, and I've just been here for a few days, I've seen population numbers for decades. Where you could make a more informed estimate. So it's crazy to me that some of these reports are modeling into the future and totally basing their model, their service model, off of a really faulty methodology. Anyway, but it's an addition. It doesn't matter. So you can tell me if that was just an initial impression, but I can't generalize. I can't just say all of them do that.
That's the basic idea, no?
Yeah.
So the basic idea, unless and until the project consultant can really show that yes, there is a demand. That's his job. He cannot generate. He cannot get that project sanctioned, and he cannot generate business.
Yeah.
So it would totally depend on his capability to really show and prove that there is a demand for this project. And there is an absolute necessity that this project needs to be executed.
Yeah.
And only then it can generate business for the municipal body and for itself. So under that scheme, out of the 100%, 5% is secured for the project consultant as it speaks.
Yeah.
So under that, it is really able to get the funds for the project. It won't be able to generate its own consultancy fees.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends a lot on his capability to get the figures and data right and to really show that this is really required and we really need to execute this project.
Yeah.
So I mean, in case of Khandwa, if you see the initial project proposal, you find that the project consultant has shown that the available local resources of the town are really not sufficient to supply water according to the demands of the town. So they need a bigger project supplying water from a bigger reservoir from a longer distance.
Yeah.
So that is what it has proved in its initial project proposal. But what it proposed initially along with the wishes of the municipal body, and then that initial proposal went under several amendments because of the discussions with the potential bidders, private bidders. It went under several amendments because initially the municipal body wanted a 24/7 project that would be a continuous uninterrupted water supply.
Yeah.
So, and they wanted a long distance transfer. They wanted metering, individual metering in every connection. They wanted I think they wanted a few other things as well. Distribution they wanted to include in the contract.
Yeah.
But after the discussion with the bidders, with big companies like there's one Tata company called Just So, some for utility and services company. is running the contract in Mysore,
Yeah.
Just Go. And there was another company called Ashoka Buildcon, and then there was another water service company called Unity Infrastructure. These companies specifically pointed out in their letters to the municipal corporation that this project is really not viable because of several political and social economic issues. It would not be financially feasible to execute this project. The municipal corporation should abandon the idea of long distance transport because that would increase tariffs which the residents of this town will not be able to pay. It should also abandon the idea of 24/7 water supply, again because it would not be financially feasible.
And the residents already had been having trouble paying to us as it was. Is that right?
It's not actually trouble. It's both ways. The residents are not paying, plus the municipal corporation is not able to recover
Okay, just to collect it.
to collect it from the residents.
Okay.
So it's both ways. It
Yeah.
can be in some cases where almost in Khandwa almost 14,000 families are living. Are below poverty.
Yeah.
You cannot collect water tariffs from them.
Yeah.
So, these companies clearly stated in their letters, in the communication correspondence to the municipal body that it's really not feasible executing this project. So what they did was they dropped some of the points like 24/7 supply, metering,
Yeah.
distribution, and but they kept that long distance transfer fee because if they would have dropped that, the project costs have really come down. If they would have used the existing resources, the project costs have really come down,
Yeah.
and it would have been financially sustainable. Plus, the tariffs would have been, if the tariff would have been based even on the actual cost recovery, they would have been quite low. But they didn't want to drop the long distance transfer because that would have really dropped the project cost and the incurring benefits, whatever
Of
the
their 22
yeah
contract.
would really didn't happen. Incidentally, somebody was telling that the day the contract was signed, the executive engineer, the mayor of the town, and the municipal commissioner of the town. Almost the next day, these guys were found driving in new Hyundai cars. I've not personally checked it, but somebody in the town was telling that 3 of them got the same brand, same model cars on the same day.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, that day was the next day after the contract was signed.
Yeah.
So
And there were interesting things written into so in addition to the contractor signing an agreement with the city that would seal the deal, they also required individual citizens, right, to sign contracts with
that's inbuilt in the contract. They want individual citizens to sign contracts with the municipal corporation. That's a contract between a contract between the consumer and the Khandwa Municipal Corporation.
Yeah.
So it says that I would submit my bills on or before the due dates. I would never default on submitting the water tariff. Then it also says that the consumer would never complain if the water supply is not up to the quality required and the quantity required, and no complaints can be made against the municipal corporation or the supplier.
Yeah.
So and there are different other clauses in that. It almost seems like, very tightly written.
And it says that things like if they don't pay their tariff bill by a certain amount, they have to pay a certain late fee, and then also if they don't pay, that their water gets shut off, and they have to pay a full month, the full next a full month's worth of their water bill, even if it's been shut off. Things like that.
And there is an interesting clause in the contract. It's called no parallel competing facility.
Yeah.
So that means that neither the municipal corporation nor the residents, they cannot have a parallel, even emergency resource.